All right, folks. Frank Zavilla here. Memorial Day, May 25th, 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Eastern. Let's go over the weekly trades because I think the weekly trades gives you an opportunity to really follow if you wanted to follow along a little bit more easier because you're only focusing on one weekly candle, one candle, which is a lot easier to follow than the daily ideas that, it's every day, it's a little bit more active, although they're great because they move up a lot quickly in the short term. But the weekly charts for those who are working probably works best, right? Gives you an opportunity just to put on the trays, set it, and forget it, all right? So let's go over some of these stocks. First one, the CP, Canadian Pacific, sideways for 5 years, okay? Just sideways action. And what's happened recently that you can argue for the first time in the last 5 years, this stock, it seems like it wants to break out. It's ready to go to the next level because of this lower high right over here, right? It goes down from 4 weeks in a row. This fifth week, it goes all the way down, touches a 200-day moving average, and it has what you could consider a shakeout candle where we break the previous week's low, and then we close near the highs. And now, recently, we're down 3 weeks in a row above what I call this top right over here, right? This line here, because 95% of the action of this stock has been pretty much capped at this level over here, which is roughly, call it $83 a share. So now we're down 3 weeks in a row. We printed an inside week. I like the stock going through 87.62 with a sell stop here at 82.65. Now, the way you want to work this is very simply. You want to risk a certain amount of capital to this stock. So if you have a $100,000 portfolio, you can risk 1%, you can risk 0.5%, 0.75%, whatever it may be. But let's say, for example, hypothetically, you have a $100,000 account and you want to risk 0.5% of that capital. That's $500, right? So you take the buy stop, which is called at 87.65 minus 82.60, that gives you 505. 500 divided by 505 gives you roughly 99 shares. Call it 100 shares times 86. That's roughly an 8.5% position or allocation to the stock in your portfolio. If you double the risk, now we're talking about 16%. Not bad, right? The type of size that can move the account. Now, this is not a big mover, but it's a slow mover, okay? Ring, another one, 3.5 years of sideways action, right? Seller, seller, seller. You see this white line here? It's the 10-week moving average. Every single time the stock hits the 10-week, the seller is there. But then finally here, after roughly 1.6 years of a tremendous downtrend, the buyers and sellers found equilibrium. Either the sellers are running out of supply or the buyers are now sucking up their demand a little bit better than they were before. And here at the very end, what you're seeing is a pattern of higher lows. Higher lows here across the board. Now this 10-week and 20-week moving average, which were resistance for all this time, now they're acting as support. That's a big change, right? So I like this stock going through 44.38, called a buy stop 44.45. Listen, you have to give it to this low $38 a share, right? You want to be able to put your stop at a level where it changes the chart. It changes the way the chart looks and makes the chart go from bullish to bearish. I think that level is $38 a share. What you can do very simply, right, if you believe that's too far away, and when you do the math, it doesn't get you a high allocation. If the stock breaks out, call it by Friday. If it's closing near the week high, you can raise your risk to this low over here to $40 a share. And what you do is you figure out the difference between 40 and 38, right? So now your risk reduces by $2. The stock is trading at, let's say, for example, $45 a share. You can figure out the math and buy more shares, right? Because you raised your stop loss without increasing your risk. That is a way to buy more without increasing your risk. Okay, so now Ring, 3.5 years of sideways action. Our Rivian, again, this stock has some decent news with Uber. and then I believe Volkswagen. Again, pattern of higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, down 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row. Here's a little shakeout candle, goes down, up and down, but then they support it, closes near the high. I like the stock going through 1440. You can give this stock 1360 as your stop. Crone, this is 3.5 years of sideways actions, very similar to Ring. Where again sellers are in control. They finally find a level here where they become interested and they start taking charge. And you can see here since April of last year, you see a pattern of higher lows. Printed inside week 277 is your buy stop, low 258, 250 is your sell stop. CRWV, big IPO, big move, sideways for a while. Roughly almost 12 months, down 3 weeks in a row. This is one of my favorites. I hate to pick favorites, but this is one of my favorites. I own this in the daily chart. It was on one of those on one of the daily watch lists. I like the stock going through 109.85. Sell stop here, this low 94.82, and similar to Ring, right? The stock, let's say for example, the stock breaks out. It's closing near the highs. You can raise your stop from 94.82 to this preview to the low of this week, and also increase your size without increasing your risk. All you have to do is do the math. IREN, heavily shorted, big move here. You can call it. You can say it's been going sideways for roughly 8 months. Decent numbers, a lot of bears. I believe 30% of float is short. Shakeout candle here. Down big, breaks the previous week's low, and then what closes near the highs. I like the stock going through 58.81. Sell stop has to be $46 a share. I know it's wide, but this is a big mover. And again, same exact, game plan. Closes near the highs by Friday. You can raise your stop to this week's low and then buy more shares. UAMY, reminds me a little bit of the quantum names a year ago where they all went up big and then traded sideways for a while. This one's been trading sideways for roughly 7 months. Critical mining, critical minerals, down 3 weeks in a row. 880 is the high, 882, 885 is your buy stop, initial stop 730. And what you want to do is you want to take the buy stop 885 minus 730, right? That's roughly $1.55. $1.55 plus your buy stop is roughly $10.40. That is your first target. So 1x is your first target. At 1x, 1040, you can sell 25%, you can sell 33%, you can sell 50%, and then move your stop to break even. If you raise your stop if you sell 50% on 1x and move your stop to break even, you pretty much have a free trade unless it gaps down, right? But something like this, you probably want to sell just 25% and then raise your stop to break even, and then let the stock trade up and down, and then raise your stop to new pivots, new lows, new support levels. Or you can also sell another 25% at 2x, another 25% at 3x, and then let the rest go. CRCL, very similar to CRWV, IPO, did great. Down 3 weeks of really tight action. As you can see here, 10-week, 20-week acting as resistance. Now they're acting as support. 3 weeks tight, 113.67 is the close here, 114 and 113.12. Inside week, very low volume, extremely low volume. Buy stop 118.90, sell stop. You got to give it to 105. Now I own this stock, with the daily chart. It was on the list this week along with CRWV, but I like this one a lot. And again, you want to allow the market to get you in to keep you out. Very simply, right? I can pick and choose. I have stars. I have multiple stars on certain names: CRWV, IREN, CRCL, LUMN, because they right now kind of fit with what's working and the theme that's actually working right now. Match.com, very similar to Ring, right? Look at this. Sellers are in control. Now here, buyers and sellers find equilibrium. And now the buyers are starting to take control either because they're buying more or the sellers are running out of supply. Either way, you can see here that they're now more and more in control. So had a big move. They had an announcement they were buying a competitor or grinder. So that drove the stock up a little bit. But look, buy stop 36.28, sell stop here at 34.80, right? Bigger the base, the higher into space it goes. But it's got a trigger. UMAC also reminds me of the quantum names, right? Where they had a big here move. This you can consider this a weekly high tie flag, right? Big move and sideways for a while. Again, the drone stocks, roughly almost 1.5 years. The drone stocks have been the most disappointing stocks due to what's going on right now. But things might change. But either way, it's got a shakeout candle. Okay, goes down, takes out the previous week low, closes pretty much at the highs of the week. Again, wide stop. 1690, 1695 is your buy stop. Sell stop, initial sell stop is $13 a share. But this stock moves. It's a 9% ADR. So it moves pretty good. So you're not going to have an issue getting that 1x. And again, if it closes strong this week, you can raise your stop to this week's low. Figure out the math. How many shares can you buy without increasing your initial risk? BWXT, Aerospace Defense, this is also working, right? Sideways for a while, down 5 weeks in a row. Again, you can call this a shakeout candle, breaks the previous week low, trades near the highs, buy stop 206.25, initial sell stop 193. Again, 1x, that's your first target, take 25% off, raise your stop to break even. You can sell another 25% at 2x. That you have to figure out on your own. LUMN, I own this on the daily chart this week. Again, big move here from $1 to roughly $10 a share, sideways action for 1.5 years. Here trading right near the highs. Inside candle, 1018, 1020, 1025 is your buy stop. Initial sell stop has to be at 815. This stock was in the daily, one of the daily lists this week. I own it from the dailies. If it goes in the weekly, I'm going to buy more. And that's it. So again, I don't like to pick and choose beforehand. Stocks, you can allow the market to get you in or keep you out. Either they trigger or don't trigger. You can focus on those stocks that the themes are working now, right? Data centers, CRWV, IREN, LUMN, has to do with AI. Figure out how much you want to risk, right? Understand, accept your stop loss beforehand, put the orders in and let the market do whatever it is it's going to do. No matter how much you watch, no matter how much you cheer, that ain't going to make a difference. All right. So trade them well and be well.